field, Barkley.
The game's biggest moments, frozen in time. Since the 19th century, photographers have been tasked with capturing the biggest moments in sports. And throughout this video, I'm going to see if I have what it takes to become a sports photographer. Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Zachary Gutherman and I am a full-time sports videographer for the Savannah Bananas. And today the Bananas have a game, but I'm not scheduled to work it. So I figured, you know what? Why not head over to the field, take some pictures just for fun, kind of see what I can get, and hopefully, you know, get some creative, fun, artsy shots. A quick look at the gear I'll be rocking today. We've got my personal camera, the Canon R3, along with a Canon RF 16mm f2.8 lens, a Canon 85 f1.8 lens, and a Canon 300 f4 lens. All right, let's head to the stadium. So the whole purpose of this challenge is for me to just get creative juices going. You know, I've done sports videography for a while now, and we're about halfway through the season, and you know, I think it's really important to create for yourself. You know, don't just create when you're forced to and when you have those deliverables. You know, create just for the fun of it. So kind of my goal with this project today, if you will, is to just go take pictures, have some fun. You know, I don't have any deliverables, so I'm able to be creative, be experimental. You know, I showed you 3 prime lenses. If I was getting paid to shoot this game, I would not be using 3 prime lenses. That'd be way too risky. But, you know, we're here to have fun and, you know, get some creative shots, and, you know, hopefully the creativity today gets the juices going for the rest of the season. This is actually my first time doing sports photography too. You know, I've gone to some college baseball games like in my school as a fan, just like in the crowd, and took pictures. And I took pictures at Special Olympics when that went to my college. But for the most part, I've never really done legit sports photography like on the field during an actual competitive game. So that's gonna make today really fun. So I have 3 goals for today, 3 shots that I want to get. I want to get some cool portraits of the players during pregame, you know, just some fun, you know, kind of more posed type of images. Second thing I want to get is I want to get a really wide shot of the national anthem, which I think is going to be hard because Grayson does not have an upper deck, but I think that'd be just, you know, a cool shot. Like if I was a photographer, I would want a wide shot of the national anthem. And the third thing is I want to get some good close-ups of action, whether that be a home run swing or whether it be like close-up trick plays, you know, just cool defensive moments. I'm super excited. I'm feeling really fired up actually. This is going to be a lot of fun. Once I got to the stadium, I got locked in and kind of forgot about vlogging, but you can see where I was posted up along the first and third base dugouts on the warning track. Success. So some time has passed, so I figured let's take a look at the photos I captured. So overall, on the day of the shoot, I captured close to 5,000 pictures, just kind of, you know, spraying and praying with the R3, you know, shooting in that high frame continuous mode, you know, getting that full 30 frames a second. And I was doing that, you know, to capture the plays, obviously, but also just to hopefully get some cool bat on ball action, and we'll see if I got it in just a moment. But I took a lot of pictures and I culled them down into the ones that I considered like good enough to edit and send out to the guys, which ended up being about 500 pictures. And out of those 500, I had 15 keepers, if you will. So those are the ones that are my personal favorites of the bunch, my like best of the best, if you will, and the ones that if I was to print them out, hang them on a canvas behind me on the wall, I would actually be proud of them. So let's dive into Lightroom and take a look at what I got. So like I said, I have 15 keepers. So this first one right here, we've got a shot of Blake Benson. This was taken pregame, and I just really love how the light of the sun was coming in. It just Grayson Stadium, when it gets to be golden hour, the light just comes in at the perfect moment. So I got a really nice backlight. Anyone who follows my work knows I love my backlights on players. It just looks so good. This is kind of just the calm before the storm. Blake watching, you know, whatever's going on in the field. He'd been injured for a little bit, so it was kind of a cool like photo storytelling moment. And you know, just I really like how this one turned out. I think the lighting just makes it super dynamic, kept it super warm in the edit. That way we can really show like the golden hour-esque of this image. And yeah, I just really like this. So this is my first keeper. Second one, which is, I think it's only a keeper because I said in the beginning of this video that I wanted to capture it, but this is my shot of the national anthem. So Grayson Stadium doesn't really have an upper deck to get a real cool high national anthem shot. And honestly, when I first pitched the idea to you guys that I wanted to do a national anthem shot, I really thought I was going to get them up on the roof, but I kind of decided against that. The roof door was shut and I didn't want to climb up there where I wasn't supposed to be. So I hung out in the grandstands. I was just literally in the walkway, and I think it looks good. This was on the 16mm f2.8, so super wide. I think it looks good. I would have liked if the net would have been a little more hidden, but when you're shooting at 16mm, you can't really help it. But I think the sky looks good, the clouds. Overall, not a bad image, but it's cool, but there's better in the bunch. So now we get into the gameplay, and the game pretty much exclusively was the 300mm prime, like I mentioned, so it's a 300 f4. So taking a look here, this is the first keeper I have. This is Andy Cosgrove at bat, you know, kind of doing like a Babe Ruth calling his shot type of deal. And I just really like this. I really like how it fills the frame. And since this was an evening game and, you know, it's being lighter out longer now, the shadows and sun were really difficult. So you can see that the background here is super blown out where Andy's standing in the shadows, which is honestly what I like about this image because it creates just a really flat look on Andy, which is more cinematic, which is kind of the style I prefer. But the background's super washed out because that was all in the dark sunlight. Overall though, I do really like the frame of this, you know, how we're kind of filling the whole frame and showing Andy hopefully calling his shot. I think he got a double after this, so kind of sort of did. Next up we got Swanee, kind of same deal, just like in the batter's box. What I really like here is we've got the spit coming out, so you can see we had a fast shutter at 1/1000th of a second. And you'll actually see a little later on when I show you some of the not keepers that I actually didn't have my shutter high enough at some parts of the game, which is kind of frustrating. But this one, I think we captured the motion really well. I think it just looks really cool. If I wasn't shooting on a prime lens, I think the biggest thing I would have done differently with this shot is kind of just punching in more. Because it's kind of a full body shot, except we cut off his feet. I think in hindsight, I would have liked if it looked more like that, just kind of capturing more of the emotion. But I don't want to crop in post because the R3 is a 24 megapixel sensor, so I only have so much data to work with, and also I would not want the bokeh to look fucky. So this is why I kept this. Overall though, just a lot of emotion, a lot of cool texture. Really like it. And then here we have Tanner scoring. So, you know, ball gets hits in play, Tanner was on third, him running in and scoring, and we get Skull kind of celebrating with him here. Again, if I had a zoom lens as opposed to the prime, I would have probably zoomed out a little bit just so we're not cutting off a bit of Skull. But I think just the overall composition and the bokeh of this shot, I like a lot. You know, there's a lot of depth between Tanner, Skull, and the background here. And this was where the sun had moved slightly more, so now everything was in the clouds. If anything, the guys were a little bit more in the sunlight, so you can see kind of the orange on their faces. Yeah, I just like it. So, like I showed earlier, I was bouncing between the first and third base side, and kind of my goal with that was if I knew there were more right-handed batters coming up, I wanted to hang out more on the first base side. That way I would have their profiles when they're hitting, and vice versa with lefties. So here we have our first shot from the third base side. This is KJ at bat. And man, this is just like, feels like a classic baseball image to me. This just looks so cool. We got KJ, he's got his foot lifted up down here, so you can kind of see just about to take a swing there. In the stance, looking locked in, loaded. Looks really cool. And the bokeh, again, a lot of backlight here, so you can kind of see how the sun's like hitting the tops of the people and the fences. Yeah, it just looks cool. I really like how this one looks. And then same thing on the other side with Baber at bat. This one, less sunlight, but more shadow, but I think that honestly just adds to the depth and the contrast of that image. Another one down here, we have Skull sliding in. So this was a play at the plate where the ball was thrown, catcher missed it, and you see it kind of ends up underneath Jake's skull. I just really like this shot. Yeah, the umpire's kind of sort of in the way, which, you know, if he wasn't standing there, it would have made for a cooler image. But it also adds a little bit of depth, and being at the 300 f4 with the compression I had, honestly, it doesn't look that bad. So I do really like this image, and I think this is one that if it was just framed nice and big on a canvas, it would look cool. So happy with that. Next up, we're gonna have my actual all-time favorite image from this day, which is this one right here of Jackson at bat. So earlier in the game, I was doing a lot of full body shots of the hitters. And then halfway through, I figured I wanted to get more experimental. So I kind of went with like the medium shot, basically knees up on Jackson. And I just love how this looks. This just has like a cinematic, almost NFL Films kind of vibe to it, which I really like. You can see he's waiting for the pitch to come in. Rule of thirds, we got him framed basically on that third grid right there. And yeah, it just looks really good. Super dynamic too, which I like. I did a little bit of playing around in post with this one too, just because I really like this image. So you can see I actually desaturated some of the yellows behind Jackson of the fans. So like obviously I want Jackson's jersey to pop, but I don't want the fans to pop. So I did a little masking there, and yeah, I just absolutely love how this shot looks. Here we got Reese Alexiadis at bat, kind of the same thing. What I really like about this one is that you can see some of the trees behind him, so it just adds a lot of depth and a lot of color. And this at bat, he actually hit a home run, which was super cool. So you'll see in the sequence we got that whole thing in there. So I said I was on the 300mm for most of the game. There was one moment where I took it off. So I was actually told by one of my friends who was working at this game that Ryan Kellogg, who was a pitcher on the Bananas, was making his return to the team today. So basically he was pitching his first start, and it was a surprise to the players. So I wanted to make sure I captured reaction shots of the guys. I was basically asked like, hey, can you grab a couple reactions of the guys? So I was like, yeah, why not? So here you can see Maceo reacting to Ryan Kellogg returning. So they played a video on the board basically saying, hey, Kellogg's back. And he came from center field. So you can just see so much emotion here. Like, this is just such a real moment. So you can see I popped the 85 back on there, F18. And yeah, I mean, this just looks so cool, so dynamic. I think I actually like the close-up shot better as Maceo was walking towards me. I just love the way his hands fill the frame, just all the bokeh of the crowd behind him, a little bit of light behind him. Yeah, that's a cool moment. So definitely one of my favorite shots. You know, shots like this, you can't script when it's just genuinely such a happy, amazing moment. So really, really happy with how this turned out. Here, another at-bat shot, we got Dan Oberst at-bat. This is very similar to the one of Reese. I think as it got darker, it just kind of made the contrast look a little better. Same especially with on the helmet. You can see Dan's got a lot of pine tar on there, so it just adds a lot of texture to the image, which I really like. Speaking of Kellogg, here he is during yellow. This is honestly probably the coolest shot of the game, I think, in terms of how powerful it is. It's a super powerful shot. You know, Ryan Kellogg, his first game back with the team, his first yellow, just, it's such a cool moment. This was actually after yellow took place, when they were all walking off. So originally EJ and DR had been like hugging around him, and I really would have loved to have captured that, but there were other photographers, videographers back there, and I'm like, you know what, I don't need to get the same shot they're doing, especially when I'm here just for fun. But as they were walking off, everyone else was kind of leaving, and I was like, well, this kind of creates more depth. So capture the moment, and I am going to show you guys just what the starting point of this shot looks like, because I really had to save this one in post. This is what it looked like in the moment. Basically my camera settings were just set to what I had been shooting for the game. I popped the 85 back on when I heard yellow was starting, but yeah, had to do a lot in post to really bring this to life. But that's the power of having a good camera like the R3, so I am very grateful for that. And really, really happy with how that one turned out. And our last keeper is this shot right here of Drew Gillespie. He's the closer for the Party Animals, by far the most dominant pitcher in the game. And I just love all the emotion here. You know, you can see the seriousness on his face, but also the way I edited it, you know, kind of doing a really cool color cast, which I know a lot of the time my style is very cool, but this just feels cold. It's like no mercy, lights out, we're here to shut the game. And that is the picture. So those are my keeper images of the game. Super fun time, but let's talk about the goals. So I had set a few goals for myself. Obviously the first one we had set was up here for the national anthem. I knew I wanted to get a shot of the anthem. We did that. We got that shot right there. Other goals, I said I wanted to get some portraits pregame, you know, more like staged photos of the guys. And originally my plan was to come out here where the Bananas were warming up and just kind of get kind of like walk-up style photos, but of them in their uniforms during warm-ups. And I got a couple, and I had the 85, but I honestly didn't love how any of them looked. And also the guys were kind of really locked in at this point. You know, they're getting ready for the game, so I'm not going to bother them and be like, hey, can I take your picture? So I got a few here. I'm not super in love with them. Nothing that really screamed, hey, this is great. So actually, as I was getting ready for the anthem, I popped the 16mm lens onto the camera, and a couple of the Party Animals guys, I feel like I'm closer with them than I am with the Bananas guys, just because we've done a lot more games together. They were like, hey, what's that? And I'm like, oh, it's like a really wide angle lens. It creates a fun look. And then you kind of see just some of the fun portraits we got there, just kind of goofing around. Bunch of different guys wanted in, which is just super cool, you know, and I really like that. So I feel like I did to an extent, achieve that goal of, hey, I want to get portraits of the people. And they're just kind of fun. They're nothing that I think is show-stopping, like, oh, hang this in a museum. But I think they're fun photos, and I think they're definitely ones that guys are going to like. I also did a couple with 85 as well. This one's kind of fun of Brady. But yeah, those are the portraits. So I wanted portraits, I wanted the national anthem, and then I wanted either a home run or a trick play. And we got both. So coming down here, I mentioned a little bit briefly, we got Reese Alexiadis, his home run. So here was kind of the sequence there. Again, I'm shooting in 30 frames a second on the R3, so I'm just kind of spraying and praying here. So you can see we get Reese, he's going in, getting ready for the swing. I wish I would have gotten him making contact with the ball though. We got the swing and we got him not making making contact. We got after he makes contact. If we look at the ones that weren't edited either, you can kind of see just kind of the sequence. So a lot of the idea with having the batters framed to the third was so I could get the bat and ball. And I guess I just haven't shot baseball enough because I didn't really have it framed right. So you can kind of see here, I think I would have had it. I think ideally I would have needed the camera a lot lower, but the big problem you'll see here is that my shutter speed was not fast enough. So, you know, video brain kicking in, you can see I was at f4, obviously that's the lowest that lens could go. That meant I had to compensate with ISO and shutter, and I didn't want to crank the ISO too high because I didn't want the images to be grainy. So I sacrificed my shutter, not thinking, hey, if I want to capture the moment, I should have had a faster shutter. So this is 100% my fault. Which thankfully the R3, if the ball would have been right here, I would have been more pissed at myself. Thankfully it's there. But yeah, it's just myself personally, I messed up my shutter. And I didn't notice it till way later in the game to make that correction. So I didn't get any bat on ball images, which is kind of a shame. Definitely something that I'm going to try again if I do this challenge again. But yeah, you can kind of see just the sequence there. So this is the one, this was my first good keeper, and then there we go, we get the home run. I definitely do wish I had framed it just slightly lower. But you know, we live and learn. First time trying this kind of stuff. And definitely should have had the shutter faster. So that was a bit of a mistake on my end, but we still did get shots of the home run, which is cool. There's my girlfriend, Caitlin. So let's come back down here. So we did still get shots of the home run. We got right before, we got right after as he's watching the ball, so over the fence. And then we get a bit of the celebration. And then we get him running in and scoring, just like that. And then the celebration the guys did afterwards, and Reese's interview. So yeah, we got the home run. Is it the best shots in the world? Not really. It's definitely not a showstopper. And if I was hired to get shots of home runs, I'd probably be upset with myself about that. But I wasn't. We were there having fun. I'm not complaining. And then the last thing I wanted to get was a trick play sequence, and we did get that. We got Ryan Cox right here. And basically, when I'm shooting defense for Banana Ball specifically, this is not just for photos, this is what I do for videos to get a lot of my cool cinematic shots, to kind of insider tip, if you will. I always have my camera positioned. If I want to film defense, I always have my camera positioned on either shortstop or second base. If it's a right-handed batter, they're more likely to pull the ball to short. If it's a left-handed batter, they're more likely to pull the ball to second. So we had a righty up, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to kind of camp out on Cox. So I was holding down, I had my finger half pressed on the shutter to lock focus on Cox as I'm watching with my eye the batter, so that way when I see the ball get hit to him, I'm ready to spray and pray. And that's exactly what I did. So you can see right here, we get Cox, ball's coming at him, he lines up, fields it one-handed, then you can see he dribbles it, or not dribbles, he transfers it between the leg, just like that, dribbles it onto the turf, boom, and then throws the ball over to first base. And there we go. So these are some real fun defensive shots, and I think they look really good. I definitely think these shots look better as a sequence because you can actually see what's happening, which I really like. But yeah, that is kind of my shots of the trick plays, and that is pretty much it for the night. You know, you can see I got a whole bunch of shots. A lot of the shots, just a bunch of shots of pitchers, bunch of shots, obviously defenders, a bunch of different hitters at bat. We got Coach Rack there. I do really like how this one looks, just kind of centered. Obviously, it would have been cooler if I was on the other side so we could see his face, But I mean, if we're trying to show off his number, it's a cool shot, I guess. But yeah, I tried getting experimental, moving into the stands a bit, didn't love it, so I popped back down on the field. We got Reggie down there. A whole lot of more moments with Kellogg. You know, just like pure happiness. It's such a cool moment. But yeah, that is kind of a look at the images I captured. So all in all, I feel like that was a successful trip to the ballpark. You know, I feel like I got some really good images. I got, like I said, the 15 pictures that I consider to be my keepers, my best of the best, and ones that I would be happy posting, printing, sharing, and kind of showing like, hey, this is what I can do as a photographer. But yeah, that was a super fun challenge. Just kind of see if I can handle sports photography. It's definitely a lot harder than it looks, you know. Once you're down there, you know, it's like, oh shoot, like I got to think about settings. I got to think about composition. I got to think about, you know, keeping it in focus while watching the play over here to know if it's coming here. So definitely a lot of things. And I think the more I do it, the better I will get for sure. But for my first time legit doing sports photography, I'm super happy. Anyways, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Do you like my images? Do you think they look bad? Do you think I missed the shot? And if you have any ideas for other challenges I can do in the world of videography, photography, sports, things like that, I would love to hear them. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video though. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And I'll talk to you all again in my next video.